Welcome to the No Experience Podcast, where two dudes who unironically listen to Little Dicky are on a quest to talk about anything and everything. I'm Jared Hines, and I'm here with my co-host, Ammar Al-Abdullah, and today we're talking about how elitism is ruining art. All right, Ammar. This is a loaded topic.
It's heavy, for sure.
Yeah, but it's one that I find I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, that's fair. You are absolutely right to be passionate about this, because art is important. It's important shit.
Art is important, and for me, as a wannabe musician and a former choir kid, it's very important for music to me. I find a lot that when people are singing or want to sing, they run into this wall, right? Where they feel like if they can't sing objectively good, they shouldn't sing at all. And I cannot express how not only sad that makes me, but just immeasurably angry. Because ultimately, what has happened is that people who are really deep into music and have been like studying it for years, and they're just like, music is their world.
Classically trained type people.
Yes. You run into an issue where they often feel the need to protect their space by trying to make it better than everything else, including the practices therein.
Yeah, I think gatekeeping is sort of what you're alluding to there.
It's gatekeeping, yeah. That's exactly what it is. So we, as a society, have entrained this idea, thanks to these elitists, that if you can't sing well, that it's not worth singing at all. And that you are actively making things worse by singing if you can't sing well.
Yeah, whatever well means in that context, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I think you're right. It's true, and I had that with my personal experience. I don't do very much music these days, specifically because I think elitism kind of ruined it for me. You know, that's something I don't often talk about. I still fancy myself, you know, a musician or one who does music, but I often feel as though, you know, if I'm not objectively doing well, or even subjectively doing well with what I'm trying to do, I won't feel like doing it. I'll let my feelings of inadequacy about that ruin it for me.
And that's such a huge thing, is that it has been ingrained in our psyche. We feel like we shouldn't do these things now. It's not just like we have this outside pressure bearing down on us. Now it's us bearing down on ourselves.
Oh yeah, it's a socially ingrained concept, right? Mm-hmm. And frankly, I don't know that a lot of it is to be blamed on elitists specifically. I mean, they hold some part of culpability for generating this air that the only reason you should do art is if you're good at it. They hold some culpability there, but I think really what it is comes back down to like a sort of elitist discussion about like what is art, you know, like the whole like, oh, you know, like abstract art doesn't count as art, video games don't count as art, you know, these particular kinds of books or movies or music don't count as art, right? But I think they have a fundamental misunderstanding of what art is. So if you want my definition of art, because it's a very nebulous term, you know, everybody's got their own idea, but art to me really is anything that is capable of communicating an idea and, you know, something emotionally resonant almost. Like, but if it can communicate an idea, it counts as art, right? Like, you know, something, it doesn't denote quality. Quality isn't related to art, really. If it's bad and it's art, that doesn't make it not art, that just makes it bad art, right? So, you know, it's like people in the quest to gatekeep art and be like, oh, what I like is art, but what you like isn't, naturally lead to certain people creating this weird elitist mentality where they're like, if you ain't good at it, don't do it, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it leads to singing and dancing and painting and shit, stuff that human beings have done since we've been human beings, and even before we've been human beings, have always done. It leads to that becoming a contest rather than something human beings do because we have to, right? Like,
yeah.
a bird doesn't worry if its singing voice sounds good, right? A fucking, one of those like a cockatoo or something that bobs around when it hears music isn't concerned about whether its dancing is good. It does it because it has to. And human beings are no fucking different. We're highly evolved naked monkeys, right? Like, so that's the crux of my main opinion on that. That's most of it.
I see. It's a real shame too, because as human beings, we used to sing and dance a lot just because it was enjoyable and just because it was beautiful in its own right to do. And it was so natural to us.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about these things. And now we do. Or we just do automatically whether we should or not. And it's such a shame.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. Like, I think, like, it's... Some part of it can be blamed on artists taking themselves too seriously. Some part of it can be blamed on society thinking that the only... skills that matter are those that are good and profitable, which really that, I think, is the base of a lot of it. I think capitalism, more than elitism, ruined art because suddenly it wasn't about, like, you do this because you love it. It's about do this to make a buck, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, you have artists that are creating these wonderful things but can't really love to do them because the main crux of it is not doing it because you like it. It's doing it because it's profitable.
Yeah, exactly. Something else, and this is something I learned recently, is that there's a specific part in the brain that it's not the only thing, but it's one of the things that separates humans from other animals. I can't remember what it's called right now, but essentially it is the part of the brain which we believe enables humans to have self-reflection, that gives us the ability to have this meta-level thinking where we're thinking about us or we're even thinking about our own thoughts. Animals don't have that. For an example, when a deer goes out and is trying to find food and it checks like 10 places and it doesn't find any food anywhere in any of those places, it doesn't get down on itself and think, oh man, I fucking suck. I'm real shit at this, I should just stop. And
yeah, I should just roll over and die. I didn't find food in any of the usual places. I must be bad. Time to die.
Yeah. But with humans, like, we go out and we go on like 10 different dates. It doesn't work out for any of those. Then we start getting down on ourselves and we're like, oh man, I must be weird or ugly or just too damn stupid, which in my case is probably pretty accurate.
The too damn stupid part?
Yeah. I mean, most of that, but particularly stupid.
Don't be down on yourself, man.
I'm not getting down on myself. I'm just reflecting facts here, okay? That part of my brain is activated, but it's not sad activated. It's factual activated, Ammar.
Jared, just because you spin it in such a way where it makes it sound like you're saying a true fact doesn't make it a true fact. That shit's subjective.
But this is a true fact, okay? This is a true fact. I'm not getting down on myself. I graduated with like a 2.0.
That just means you're a poor academic, not that you're stupid. That's another thing.
I once lit my hand on fire.
I once lit my dick on fire. I mean, like, that's a story for really another time, but yeah, no, like, that's a thing, right? People have that, right? Where they seem to be convinced that, like, if they couldn't get good grades in school or if they're generally kind of a klutzy, clumsy person, that means that they're stupid, right? I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that I agree or believe that.
That's fair. That's all I have to say, because me stupid.
You stupid. Okay, well, if that's your subjective view of yourself, I'm not going to take it away from you. I just don't know that I agree. I don't know that I agree that I think anyone is, like, objectively stupid, right? I think that, like art, like music and painting and shit like that, like, it really is a subjective game, right? Where, like, intelligence takes many forms, right? Intelligence takes the form of, like, academic intelligence, physical intelligence, people who play sports and shit, right? I know dudes that I knew in high school couldn't add 2 + 2 together, but could shoot a hell of a fucking jump shot, man. Like, they had tremendous physical intelligence, right? Like, and you have people who might be academically intelligent in some regards, but not in other regards, right? Similarly, I knew artists in high school who were the most socially inept people I'd ever met. Just couldn't hold a conversation, couldn't, find their way through, could not navigate through a conversation, if they had a fucking map, right? And a flashlight. They couldn't do it, right? But they were insanely artistically intelligent, right? And, that I would hate to see that could be ruined for them, to be honest. Like, that's, circling back around to the elitism idea. I would hate to see that somebody with, not talent. I hate talent. I hate that term. Because talent implies natural born. It really does come down to, like, persistence for one, but also for two, artistic intelligence, right? If you can grasp artistic concepts, you should be doing it. And you shouldn't let anyone's elitist mentality about what is and what isn't art keep you from doing that.
Yeah. That's something else worth mentioning is talented, or people who are at least perceived as naturally talented. There are a lot of elitists who hate those motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, these people put in a lot of work into their craft to try and learn and try and get better. So, obviously, it's probably frustrating to see somebody who you think is just kind of born with it just shoot past you immediately.
Yeah, like, I don't want to take that away from them. That's valid to feel, right? Like, but at the end of the day, right, like, the deck is not stacked fair in anyone's favor, right? Like, I knew dudes in high school, and even dudes now who, like, have naturally, like, to speak as music as the example, I knew a lot of dudes in high school who had, like, perfect pitch, like, they were really good at identifying notes in relation to other notes and shit. And that's a tremendous advantage to have, right? I'm sure. But I don't think that they didn't work their asses off to be good, right? Like, they definitely had to, like, that shit's work, like, you can have perfect pitch and still not be able to sing or play an instrument, right? Because, it's maybe 2% talent and 98% work, right? Like, that's it,
Isn't that a song?
Yeah, that's the song, Jared. 2% talent, 98% hard work.
Yep.
And 100% reason to remember the name. That's the song. You got it, man. You knew the words.
I'm big boy. I remember. Me smart.
You are smart.
Me smart.
You are smart. You don't give yourself enough credit, Jared. I think you are smart.
No, but another thing to talk about there that I find very interesting, just as a small tangent, and for a little bit of context, there are two types of pitch recognition that, just off the top of my head, at least. One is called relative pitch. Basically, that is where you have one note in the scale memorized, and then you can find any other note by sort of counting from that note. So you can find the key of a song or find the specific note that's played in a song.
Yeah, most of the dudes that I knew in high school who had perfect pitch, that's what they could do.
See, but then there's perfect pitch. They are different.
Yeah.
Perfect pitch is something that, as far as studies seem to find, is something that is gained young and it's natural. It's not something that you can develop. If you don't have it, you'll never have it. And it's very revered because any note that is played, you automatically know it. The best sort of analogy that I found about it is that the same way that we look at, say, Ammar's hoodie right now and we say, that's a red hoodie. Or we look at the sky and we say that the sky is blue, and how that automatically connects in our brains. It's the same for those with perfect pitch. They hear an A and they're like, yeah, that's an A. It's individual and it has a very specific characteristic, like colors are to us.
Sure.
But the thing about it is, and I find this incredibly fascinating, you do not keep your perfect pitch forever. In fact, actually you do. It just does not remain the same. What studies have found is that after a certain age, people with perfect pitch, their perfect pitch will shift. In that you will think an A is an A, but it's actually like a D or something. It'll be off by like a note or a couple notes or something. And they just have to live with that. Imagine if one day you woke up and red was purple.
Wow. I've never heard that. That's insane.
Yeah.
Which really does go to show you, I mean, the value of hard work can't be overstated, right? Because someone born with perfect pitch, if what you said is accurate, and I have no reason to doubt you on that, like, if their understanding of notes is constantly shifting over the course of years, they would have been very well served developing a good understanding of relative pitch in that case, right? Like, and it's like, I'm sure you could parse that out to any number of like micro instances of different artistic pursuits that have similar shit, right? Like I've heard, with like painters and shit, there's a lot of people who have a natural acuity for like color theory and stuff like that. But, working hard to keep those skills sharp and to develop them in such a way where it's like you're not working on natural born gifts, you're working on accumulated knowledge. That's really the secret, I think, is accumulating knowledge. Intelligence and talent might not even factor into the scenario. I think it's just your natural accumulation of knowledge and skills rather than whatever you're born with,
Yeah.
At least that's kind of what I've managed to glean so far, because I'll be honest with you, Jared, I'm not naturally talented at anything.
Me either.
From the day I was born, I have been a slacker who is bad at everything. But the things that I care about, I work really fucking hard to get good at them, right? Like, but at the same time, I don't want to take away from somebody else just because they're running what, might be a less ideal version of that thing, Like, the example I always give people, right, is, because this is the thing I do the most often, it's the thing I love the most, it's the thing I'm incredibly passionate about, is role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, right? I didn't hop out the pussy Matthew Mercer, okay? Like, I didn't start out amazing at running Dungeons and Dragons, right? When I started out, I was awful. I was bad, right? But over the course of years, I developed my skills. I flexed my muscles, and I got to a point where, like, now I run what I consider to be much better games of Dungeons and Dragons. If I had stayed with music in high school, it probably would have been the same thing. If I had just stayed with that and not let elitism ruin it for me, I would have probably similarly gotten to a point where I was a fantastic musician, right? And that's really the message I want to convey to people out there, is it's like, it's more about like persistence. I was watching a movie the other day. It's called The Founder. You and I were watching a little bit of it together.
Yes.
It's a Michael Keaton movie about the founder of McDonald's. And like how the most important thing, the thing that let him become the leader, the CEO of this multi-million-dollar franchise was persistence, right? He talks about how talent's not going to get you to success, intelligence, education, none of that shit will really get you to success in whatever pursuit you want to be successful in. The thing you got to have in spades is persistence. You gotta be willing to like hold on to that shit with like a death grip and not let anybody take it away from you. So that's, there's basically two pieces of advice that I think Jared and I can both agree we want to levy at people listening, which is, if you're a great artist, if you are fantastic at what you do and you've worked hard to become so, stay that way. Remember your roots. Remember your roots, because there was a time, not long ago, I'm certain, where you were exactly the same level of shitty that anybody who's starting out now probably is. That's the first piece of advice, is if you're an artist, don't let that make you into an elitist. Remember your roots, remember where you came from. And the other thing, and this is probably more important because this is for people who might have let it be ruined for them, if elitism is ruining your pursuit of your artistic interests, don't let it. Hold on to that shit, because nothing is worse than having something you love, having something you're very passionate about be taken away from you. No matter what people say to you, no matter what elitism they might get down on, hold on to it. Hold on to it with a death grip. That's my advice to artists and to aspiring artists out there.
And one last piece of advice that I think I'm going to chime in for is just don't let anything take away your joy. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that regardless of whether you're going to persevere because you want to learn the skill, or you're just trying to get better and something is on your ass, if you don't have the enjoyment, it's not going to work out for you. But also, if you don't have the enjoyment, you could lose it forever. You could just give up on it. But as long as you can enjoy it regardless of the situation, you'll never lose it. And that also gives you more opportunity to grow, whether you're intending to or not.
Oh yeah, you're right about that, man. Don't let your art become a job, you know? Don't let it become something you dread going to every day. Let it constantly make you happy and fill you up like you wouldn't believe, and you'll enjoy your art a lot more, and I think the people around you will as well. I think that's as good a stopping place as any, don't you, Jared?
I certainly do. Thank you for joining us for the No Experience podcast. It was nice to have you, and I hope you're enjoying the show. If you have any feedback, then please let us know. We'll be setting up an email soon, and we'll leave that in the description. We hope that you'll be subscribing to listen to more. We're on YouTube and SoundCloud, and we're also on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can check us out there. We hope you're having a nice day.
Keep it real, everybody. We love you.
Bye-bye.